While engaging with the status of the Israelite champion known as Caleb, or rather the ancestry of this Israelite champion, yesterday I had cause to mention one other subject that pertained to the Israelites that I and some other people addressed a few years ago. A certain article came out, ostensibly written by archaeologists, who claimed that they found evidence that the ancient Israelites used cannabis. That is what in Nigeria the common name used to be Indian hemp. This article claimed that cannabis was found in Israelite places of worship in ancient times. Israelite places of worship in ancient times, in other words, that the Israelites used cannabis in their worship. I would not say that I ruled that out completely, because that will be closing the door to inquiries, but I was skeptical. I had my doubts, and I will state the reasons why I had my doubts, and I still have my doubts even now. I am very familiar with the religious practices of the ancient Israelites, probably more than anybody in the world today. Why do I say this? The religious practices of the Israelites, I'm talking about the ancient Israelites, lived on in the religious practices of the Igbo people. Of all the people that claimed they came from the Israelites, including the Igbos, whether the world acknowledges this or not, the Igbos are one of the peoples that claimed that they came from the Israelites. Every group in the world that claimed they came from the Israelites, the Igbos are the only group that retained beliefs and practices that parallel those of those Israelites, 100%. If we are to find, I will mention 3 quintessential Israelites now. My favorite, Isaiah the prophet, King David, King Saul, even Aaron. And we are to ask these individuals, if we are to have them facing us today, to describe the character of their religion. What the contemporary Igbo would say, if you pose that question to him, is what these great souls would say. They would say, it is the religion God said we should do in the land. This is what the Igbos, this is the only descriptive the Igbos know for the category of things we know as religion. Omenana. Omenana means religion you do in the land. Me is do. Na, in, ana, land. This is not a interpretation. This is a translation, direct. So, and I have devoted over 20 years of my life to researching and publishing on this. I have over 20 books to my credit. If I do not weigh in on matters like this and being derelict, I have to talk so that it will be on record that the Israelites of the Bible also spoke. Because I'm very familiar with their religion, because I grew up in it, I know that they did not need to be high. We will look at the qualities or the effects of cannabis. The effects of cannabis are commonly referred to as being high. This was not a requirement when you practice Omenana. You are not high. It is the most sober religion that I found. Not austere, not austere. We used palm wine. And palm wine also tells us a story about how the Israelites viewed matters like this. The Igbos produced only palm wine. And there are two categories of palm wine, nkwenu and nungwo. Nkwenu are the palm trees that you find not close to the rivers. The wine it produces tend to be stronger than the ones that you find close to the rivers and lakes. That one is called Ungwa. This was the only liquor the Igbos produced. Meanwhile, their neighbors to the north, the Igala, the Idoma, to the south, the Ijo, the Urobo, all produced hard liquors. A people that would not go for hard liquor, for tough liquor, will hardly go for substances that will increase the heart rate, increase appetite, that will impair short-term and working memory, impair psychomotor coordination, produce euphoria. A friend of mine who has a degree in religious studies told me yesterday that she doesn't think that cannabis is a hard drug. But according to this individual, it relaxes you. What does anesthesia do? I've been under the knife many times. It relaxes, paralyzes the central nervous system. She also let the cat out of the bag when she said it's to fight anxiety. The Israelite folkway itself fights anxiety. That's why the Igbos did not know that there is a disease or a problem called depression. Yeah, we did not know that there was a thing called depression until we began to read about it. Just like we never knew about terms like Indibo or Dinana until we began to read about them, or even that we are blacks until we travel to the western parts of the world where people we are viewed, where color became ethnicity. Then the second reason why I was skeptical was, for God's sake, the Philistines were long-term residents and occupants of the land of Israel. They had religious places of worship. Samson, the Israelite champion, Nze, died in a Philistine temple. How do people who study contemporary Israel now know the differences between the Israelite and the Philistine temples of worship? As far as we know, early Israel, the material structures of early Israel are not to be found. They virtually disappeared, or they are not existing, and it's not expected that they will exist. Early Israel existed thousands of years ago, and they were not building with marble. So the Canaanites had places of worship. I do not know if all those places of worship that Elijah the prophet took on the Canaanites or took on the worshippers of Baal, I do not know if all those places were set up by Israelites. So if an archaeologist finds a place of worship, a place that may be a place of worship in early Israel, if an archaeologist operating in the 21st century discovers such a place and determines that it's a place of worship, how does that archaeologist know that he is looking at an Israelite place of worship and not a Philistine, a Canaanite, an Assyrian? The Assyrians were in the land. I'm sure that when they came to invade Israel and Judah, they worshipped their gods in the land, even if they stayed briefly. The Babylonians were there. The Greeks were there. I encourage people to keep researching, but I'm also going to contribute my perspective because I'm in a very good position to give voice to those Israelites that produced us. And on this note, I tell you, have a beautiful day. Thank you.